I'm on mute, guys. I am on mute. What's happening, people? It's your girl, Mina. Welcome back to my channel. You already know what it is. First and foremost, big up to everyone locked in for this very impromptu stream. I wasn't going to do one. You know what it is, man. I always say I will do a stream if there is any more news that is stream worthy. And we are here 9:30 p.m. UK time to talk about the latest information regarding Manuel Ugarte and Manchester United, with the deal being off the table completely. Manchester United have decided to walk away and look at other alternative options because they're not going to be forced into paying a fee that they feel is not reasonable for Manuel Ugarte, no matter what. No matter the fact, despite the fact, guys, that Manuel Ugarte has been a primary target for Manchester United this summer. It's been weeks since they agreed personal terms with him and they reassured him that they would come in and make a bid. It sounds like Manchester United have officially walked away from this move. And you know what? I absolutely applaud them for doing that. Big up to everyone locked in. Be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe. Guys, we're not that far off. Actually, we just hit 5.3k, so let's try and get to 5.4k at some point during the week. Like I said, big up to everyone. Be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe. To all my people in the UK, England, Ireland, Wales, I hope you and your family are staying safe during these very uncertain times, as I want to call it. But listen, let's get straight into it. Let's get straight into it, guys. I want to hear everybody's thoughts as this news kind of has evolved. Let me know your thoughts. But reported by none other than the GOAT, David Ornstein, Manchester United are switching the focus of their search to sign a new midfielder away from Manuel Ugarte and have now moved on to new candidates or other candidates. Manchester United have been exploring a deal for Ugarte, but they do not intend to pay the fee that PSG are asking for Manuel Ugarte, which is 60 million euros, guys. Exactly 60 million euros, which is around 51 million pounds. Now, is that the best thing to do? Let me know you guys' thoughts. Let me know how you feel about it. We're going to talk about alternative options. We're going to talk about what that means also for Scott McTominay as well. But let me know your thoughts. Listen, guys, let's hit the like button if you've just come through, because I want this to be as interactive as possible, especially as it's a very impromptu stream. Anyways, David Ornstein went on to say that the clubs are far apart, quite far apart, if we want to use exact terms. The clubs are quite far apart in their respective valuation, and as things stand, Manchester United plan to look elsewhere. David Ornstein then went on to say that the view at Manchester United is that they are only willing to pay what they deem to be the correct fee for each transfer target, and negotiations will not be allowed to drag on until the end of the market. Enter the Frankie de Jong saga 2 seasons ago. Now, Manchester United reportedly will return to the table with PSG only if there is a significant reduction in price, but so far no progress has been made. So let's look at this timeline, guys. Let's look at this timeline, right? 5 days away from the Community Shield. That's a preseason game vibe to me. 11 days away from the opening game of the Premier League campaign. Spent a number of weeks reportedly in talks with PSG, amongst other deals as well, with this sole purpose of filling this gap, this void in Manchester United's midfield. Manuel Ugarte was the key target. They agreed personal terms with him a long time ago. Can I just say, by the way, PSG went from asking for 50 million to asking for 60 million. They even, at some point, it was reported that they were interested in 70 million. Now, for some context, guys, they spent 60 million on Ugarte 1 year ago from Sporting. He came to Paris Saint-Germain, didn't work out for him. He didn't really fit the system, nor did he fit the manager's structure. And they think PSG are under the impression that they will go on and sell him for the same price that they brought him for, not realizing that he has devalued. His price has depreciated whilst he's been at PSG due to the poor performances and the lack of integral moments that he's had for the club. You cannot sell him for 60 million when he's not been a 60 million player at PSG. PSG's, I think, pure purpose is to recoup money. If you lot don't know, in France, they don't make a lot of money from TV revenue. It's not like the Premier League, La Liga, etc. People aren't fighting to buy the rights for the French league. As a result, they need to make money from marketing, from sponsorship, from selling players, which is why Clubs like Monaco, clubs like Lille, etc., they are eating good when they're able to sell players. Clubs like Rennes, etc., Olympique Marseille, all of them kind of teams, they are eating good when they're able to sell their players for big fees. PSG has never been the kind of club that sells players for huge fees. They lost Kylian Mbappe on a free. They signed, can I say, Kolo Muani for 72 million, Gonzalo Ramos for 60 million. They brought in people like Skriniar, they brought in Vitinha, they brought in so many players over the last couple of years for big price tags. And they are now trying to offload some of those players with the hopes that they can sell them for the same price that they bought them. It don't make sense. Big up Koala in the chat says, big up Queen. We need the transfer fail counter for players we expect to leave and those we expect to get. Troy says, hi, by the way. Big up Koala and big up. Been a member for 7 months. I appreciate the support. If you want to join the Minions Gang, guys, the membership club, you can. It's the pinned comment in the chat. You get your free super chat once a month, and then you get, custom member content, custom emojis, custom everything for members. And of course, you get to support the growth of the channel. If you want to support the channel in other ways, if you are enjoying and appreciating the content here, you can hit the like button, you can subscribe, and also you can send in super chats with your comments, with your questions, or just with your thoughts. Let me go through the comments and see what you lot are saying. Big up to Ridwan, says, it's nice to see us actually walk away from Brantwaite and Ugarte. Would have been astronomical fees for the duo. I mean, 75 million and 51 million for Ugarte. That would have been what, if my maths is decent enough, that's 126 million pounds on 2 players. Man United ain't got that money. They ain't got that money. AA says, I'm happy to see us stay strong finally. Sully says, yes, I'm with Ineos. No more overpaying unless it's Euro type talent. All right, that's a hot take. Paul says Joey Verman from PSV, Manu Kone and Edison from Atalanta are good options. Ibra says, we don't have money. Why not get Rabiot on a free with 150 to 200k wage and get Fofana for 20 to 25 million? That's reasonable. Jay goes on to say, we've been mugged off. Simple as that. How do we lose Neves to PSG and not get Ugarte? It's pure comedy. Let's talk about that, because obviously I don't think United have been mugged off. Personally, I don't think United have been mugged off. Now, PSG announced João Neves today. Now, I think this actually could be a strategy from Manchester United. I'm not joking. I think this could be a strategy. PSG need to sell players. They've got a number of players on the transfer list. They've got Mukiele, they've got Skriniar, they've got Ugarte as well. They've just brought in João Neves for 70 million. They need to sell players. They are also trying to buy other players as well. So clearly they need to offload players. This might actually work in Man United's camp. I'm not joking. This ball is now in Man United's court, in the fact that I think PSG might be forced to lower their price. Now, one thing I will say about anything run by Nasser Al-Khalifi at PSG, of course, the CEO there, they can be stubborn. And if they don't need to lower their price, they won't. They are happy to take the L financially. They did it with Kylian Mbappe. They turned down a bid from multiple clubs. What was it? Saudi, PSG, for Real Madrid, etc. They are happy to lose Kylian Mbappe on a free just so that, their pride is still there. And I think they are still willing to do the same for João Neves, bringing in João Neves and, not selling Manuel Ugarte. I think they'll be happy to keep Manuel Ugarte on the bench if someone doesn't pay 60 million. I think they'll be happy to do it. And you know what? I don't think in any shape or form do I feel like Manchester United have been mugged off. Because if Man United went and paid 60 million, there would have been an uproar. Everyone would have said, oh, what's the point on having structure? What's the point of having someone like Amar Barada? What's the point on having Dan Ashworth, etc.? If we're just going to continue paying astronomical fees for players that are not deemed worthy of that price tag, I think it's very reasonable for Manchester United to walk away and say, you know what, we will come back to the table if you're willing to lower the price, but 60 million is unreasonable. Because at the end of the day, Manchester United have money to spend on a midfielder. Maybe not in the region of 60 million, but I do think Man United have the ability to spend maybe up to 45 million on a midfielder if they need to. But I think the biggest thing for Man United is probably how they structure those payments. I think that's the most important thing, is how they structure the payments, because Manchester United cannot afford to pay it all up front at once. It's a cash flow problem for them. But here is it, OJ says it here. There was an uproar for the Euro deal. Imagine if we cashed in on Ugarte. Manuel Ugarte, by the way, this is not me downplaying anything about Manuel Ugarte, because I think he's a good player. But he's the same player that has been practically riding the bench at PSG for the last season. Why does PSG now feel like, okay, he's worth 60 million to us? No, because you were happy to have him sitting on your bench game in, game out. You were happy to have him playing couple games here and there. You literally spent 60 million on him and realized he wasn't a good fit for your team. And now you want to offload that problem or that burden onto someone else who clearly wants it, but they want it on their terms. And you know what? I applaud Ineos for it. I respect them for it because, yes, it takes you back to square one, but we've been hearing talks over the last couple of weeks about alternatives for Manchester United, alternative midfielders that they're looking at. We're going to talk about it, but the likes of course, Adrian Rabiot, who's available on a free, Martin Zubimendi, who has a release clause, Yusuf Fofana, Sufyan Amrabat, Joey Verma. There's so many players that has been mentioned over the last couple of weeks where it's very clear as day that Manchester United have a plan B or a plan C or a plan D. They've done the same with Xavi Simons. I agree. They didn't want to sell Xavi Simons, and they were in a battle with Bayern Munich for Desire Doué. So you know what they said? They said, we're not going to accept any bid from Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich are not going to bid for him on a loan. They're going to want to buy him. And instead, we're just going to loan him back to RB Leipzig. But we're not selling him. We're just going to keep him because we're not selling him to Bayern Munich because Bayern Munich also want Desire Doué. That is how PSG have been obviously operating in the transfer window. And you know, one thing about PSG, can I say, is like as a club, they're run in a bit of a chaotic way, in a bit of a frenzy. In my opinion, as an outsider, sometimes I look at their transfers and I'm like, this makes no sense. You just go around buying everyone. How do I tell my kids 30 years from now that there was a team with PSG, with Messi, with Mbappe, with Neymar, and they never won the Champions League? That is crazy to me. That is crazy to me. And people feel like, oh, you know, we let PSG have a free run at João Neves. Let's be honest, guys. If Man United don't want to spend 60 million on Manuel Ugarte, are they really going to spend 70 million on João Neves or 120 million? Apparently, that was his release clause, but the Benfica sporting director came out and kind of shut that down and said there was no release clause, but they were willing to accept anything above 70 million. Do you really think Man United were going to spend 70 million euros when they can't even spend 60 million? Like let's be honest with ourselves, guys. Let's be real and let's be honest. Uthman, big up to Uthman, says people are panicking over not getting Ugarte because the season starts soon. Calma. It's a rebuild. And just like that, Zayn Yassi comes through saying Arsenal had a better transfer window. Listen, put your money where your mouth is, Zayn. If you think Arsenal had a better transfer window, you send a super chat now. That's £50. If you genuinely believe that Arsenal had a better transfer window than Manchester United, send a £50 super chat now. And then I will believe you. Then I will believe you genuinely think that. But right now, I'm just going to assume that you're just saying it for the sake of saying it. Mr. Music, big up Mr. Music, says, I think this is Ineos showing how differently they're moving. I'm happy with it. If a player isn't worth it, don't pay it. Guys, what I don't understand is that there is such uproar about this. There is such uproar I've seen online in the last hour or so about this. And I just don't get it, because have we not learned from previous mistakes? Have we not learned from previous mistakes of spending drastic fees on players and we don't really end up benefiting from it? Why would you now want Manchester United to sign 60 million Ugarte and possibly leave us with no other money to spend in the window? Like, come on. I'm not gonna lie. I'm worried about the midfield. I'm worried about the midfield. I'm not gonna lie. But I also anticipate that Manchester United, or I believe that the people that have been put in place, you know, the structure we've been speaking about for so long, I believe they will do their job. I believe they will do their job. We've been linked to multiple other midfielders, and we're going to kind of get into that. I also think that them kind of pulling out of this Ugarte deal might mean Scott McTominay will stay. And it's reported that Erik ten Hag wants to keep him, but Manchester United need money, so they're going to try cash in on him. But I do think this could lead for a pathway for more numbers in midfield to stay than what was planning to be gone. Now, let's actually get into it. Let's talk about potential midfielders. Not the guy in the highlighter shirt, guys, because he was a United player. Martin Zubimendi. Number one. That's the first player that Man United have been linked to. And if Man United are able to do business with Real Sociedad, if they're able to negotiate, that structure, because he's got a release clause of 60 million euros, which is the same price. If I'm not wrong, I think his release clause. Let me double check. Let me double check before I start lying to you guys. But I'm pretty sure his release clause is 60 million. Yeah, so he's got a 60 million release clause. If Man United are able to negotiate this with Real Sociedad in the same manner in which they negotiated the release clause for Joshua Zirkzee, I think Manchester United could get a deal there. However, I do think that his commitment to playing in Spain might overshadow everything. I do think that might overshadow everything. If you think about the kind of player he is, wow, he would come in and transform Manchester United's midfield. He would be a key difference. If Man United were to get Zubimendi and Rabiot on a free, I would be all behind that. I would totally be behind that. Rabiot for depth, Zubimendi to start. That would be wonderful. However, I don't know how likely he would leave Spain to come and play in England. I don't know. Jay says, I feel we are going to rely on Casemiro for the DM position this season. I've been saying that for the last week, that something is telling me. I said it on the stream earlier today, by the way. I said it on the stream earlier today about the fact that I felt like maybe Manchester United will end up with no midfielder this window. And that could lead to players like Scott McTominay, etc., staying. Another midfielder Manchester United are looking at, and we know already that they are looking at him because he is one of the options, is former Manchester United. I can't say now former Manchester United player. Former Manchester United player Sufyan Amrabat. Now, it seems I can imagine this deal happening. I can imagine this deal happening because A, played for United first season, knows the manager, knows the team, knows the style of play. Won't be that expensive. 20 I think he will come with a 20-ish million price tag. 20-ish million price tag. Now, the only worry for me with Sufyan Amrabat is his agility that I've seen. But also, let's be real, guys. He did not get a consistent run of games to really showcase what talent he has. I don't think, if Manchester United, by the way, signs Sufyan Amrabat, I don't think he'll be the only signing. But we already know that Man United are looking at him. And by the way, it's been, and it's not just because of Ugarte. It's not just because of the Ugarte deal falling. But we already know that Manchester United have been looking at Sufyan Amrabat for the last, couple months? Since the season ended. It's been in the media, and it's been well trusted in the media, that Sufyan Amrabat is a player Manchester United will return to once, they are fully aware of where all their targets are. He was always a target. He was always on the list. Maybe at the lower side of the list, but he was always on the list. He was always on the list. And I know a lot of you lot are not liking that. You lot are telling me to stop. Honestly, I know you lot are not liking that, but it could happen. It could happen. Another player that I'm still holding on a little bit to the idea of is Yusuf Fofana at Manchester United. The only issue is, obviously, Monaco are now asking for 30 million, by the way. They went from asking for 20 million. They went from asking for 15 million to 20 million to the second United and other teams came up in the conversation, 30 million the price went to. AC Milan, a rival team. Juve as well is another player. It's another destination, for the player, another team that's interested in. Now, I don't know about the idea of, I'm not gonna lie, for someone, I'm a fan of Yusuf Fofana. You guys, I don't even have to tell you lot. I don't even have to tell you lot about Yusuf Fofana, of me being a fan of Yusuf Fofana, because you guys know. However, him being the main midfield signing is not something I'm comfortable with. I feel like Manchester United need this guy here. Man United missed out big time not signing Amadou Onana. And the fact that they reportedly went in for him last minute with the same offer as Aston Villa, but he already gave and agreed terms with Aston Villa. There's no way anyone watches Amadou Onana and thought that he would not fit into Manchester United good. he would not be a perfect fit for Manchester United. However, I can't sit here and I can't really. I'm not going to dwell on what coulda, woulda, shoulda been. But the next best thing would be Yusuf Fofana. OJ says Fofana is a good signing, but to be the main guy, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't trust Fofana like that. I agree. I don't trust him as a main signing. Like, let's put it like this, yeah. We want him to come in and do the role of a 6, right? Unless Man United are playing a double pivot. I don't think it's going to be a double pivot with Kobe. I think it'll be a lone 6. But if United do go for a double pivot, he would be good in a double pivot. But let's put it like this, yeah. Even in France, whether it's a double pivot or a lone 6, Tchouaméni has been favoured over Yusuf Fofana. However, Yusuf Fofana has played for France on multiple different occasions, even at the World Cup, etc. And they like to play him similar to at Monaco with a more advanced role. And that's why I don't know if he would be suited to be a lone 6 at Manchester United. Like, I've said this before, if you're going to Monaco and you're looking for a 6, you're not signing Yusuf Fofana. You're not signing Yusuf Fofana. You are signing Mohamed Kamara. Did you watch Monaco last season, Mina, or did you see him for France? I've been watching Monaco for the last 2 seasons because I've been a fan of Mohamed Kamara, not Yusuf Fofana. I even went and watched Monaco versus PSG at the Parc des Princes about 2 seasons ago. I think it was 2 years ago. And who bossed it? PSG versus Monaco was 1-1, by the way. But Mohamed Kamara absolutely bossed the entire game. He walked away with man of the match, and he had Verratti in his little pocket. He literally had Verratti in his pocket. Now, Monaco, by the way, guys, are already preparing for Yusuf Fofana's replacement. They're already preparing for him. They're bringing in a kid called Lamine Kamara. This kid, and you lot are probably thinking, wow, Mina's a loser. All she does is watch football, yeah? Lamine Kamara, I watched him in the AFCON under 21. I watched the AFCON under 21 18 months ago. First game I watched, Senegal game. I said, wow. I said, who is this Lamine Kamara kid? At that point, he wasn't even playing in Europe. Yeah? Now he's in Europe. I think he's at Metz, and now Monaco are signing him from Metz. So they're going to have a double midfield pivot when Yusuf Fofana leaves of Mohamed Kamara and Lamine Kamara. And I'm telling you guys now, that is going to be one of the best double pivots in Europe. In Europe. He's only 19 years old, and he is out of this world. He is out of this world. He went to AFCON. I watched him in AFCON under 21. Then he went to the senior AFCON this year with Senegal as well. And he was phenomenal. They're already preparing Yusuf Fofana's replacement. They are already preparing. But my only concern about Yusuf Fofana is that the job that you would want him to do at Man United, I don't think he can do it by himself. That is my only concern. I'm not going to go and say he's a box-to-box or he's a PMP merchant. I've watched enough of Yusuf Fofana to definitely know that he would absolutely improve Manchester United, but not in the manner of, I think, in terms of what Man United are looking for. If they went from, the only thing that worries me, by the way, Lamine, that's all I need to hear. Sign him up. I don't care about anything else. Yeah, anyone with the name Lamine, you got to sign him up. Mr. Music says, I think we are kidding ourselves. Ugarte will still come. No one is paying 60 M's for Ugarte. Richard Rios. Funnily enough, I got a picture of him. I don't think that's happening, by the way. I don't think that's happening. Tom says, where is Ashworth and the elite scouting promise? Problem being, it was the algorithm that Tony Bloom had developed by MIT choosing the target for Brighton. So you're saying it was the algorithm thing. You're saying it's an algorithm thing. I think Kobe does what Fofana does. I agree. I think Kobe does do what Fofana does, which is why I think if Man United are going to play a double pivot where they both equally have the same role and they both are a sitting midfielder and then they both go forward and both come back, then yes. But if you expect the entire game for Yusuf Fofana to sit by himself in front of the 3 in the back when, Dallow's a bit more advanced or Mizraoui is forward or Luke Shaw, whoever, I'm not too sure about that. I'm not too sure about that. But one thing I will say is that another player Manchester United are also linked to is this guy here, PSV's very own Joey Verman. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. This is another player that Manchester United are linked to in the midfield. Would he come with a big price tag? I'm not too sure. But listen, I'm not going to lie and sit here and say, oh my God, I know a lot about him. But the little that I know about him, he's a good player. 19 assists in all competitions last season. by the way. 19 assists in all competitions last season. These are the 5 or 4 names, I would say, that Manchester United have been linked to. Martin Zubimendi, Joey Verman, Adrian Rabiot in terms of discussions at Manchester United, and Sander Berg. Sander Berg is the only one that I feel like, is that a good idea for Manchester United? Let me know if you know anything. I think someone just actually mentioned Sander Berg in the chat as well. I think someone, let me know in the chat if you are familiar with Sander Berg, because I'm not gonna lie, guys, I did not hear of him until about a week ago when Manchester United were suddenly linked to him. That was the first time that I've heard of him before, but I didn't think that was a name that Manchester United were looking at. I honestly did not think that was a name that Manchester United were looking at. Joshua, big up to Joshua in the chat, says, I think that's an opportunity signing. A little bit about him, 26 years old, playing for Burnley. Do you think he will be worth a decent price given the fact that he's at Burnley? Do you think he would be a decent price because he's at Burnley, he's in the Championship? The good thing is, guys, no history to the Netherlands. I know that's what everybody likes to look at every single time when we talk about players that Manchester United are linked to, is do they have a history of playing or being born or having some relation to the Netherlands? No, they don't. He doesn't have a link. Now, this is a name I think mentioned very, very lightly. I'll be very shocked, by the way, if Manchester United do end up going for him, because I don't think he's a primary target. I don't know. From what we're being told, I don't think he's a primary target for Manchester United. Some other names that are popping up as well is this guy right here, Wolves' very own João Gomez and Fluminense. I hope I said their name right. Fluminense. Midfielder Andre Gomez here is valued by Wolves for 60 million. 60 million. Like I said before, if Man United walked away from a 60 million bid for Ugarte, then why would they go for João Gomez from Wolves? And like I said, another player Manchester United could potentially look at as an option is Andre as well. Plays, I think, in Brazil. This is an interesting one, guys, because these are a lot of names. This is a lot of names right now that's just flying around, and I don't know if it's because, guys, it's just panic mode. Everyone's trying to figure out what is the next steps after Manuel Ugarte. What is the next steps? Manchester United, originally I think it was 4 midfielders that were talked about. Even before they agreed personal terms with Manuel Ugarte, it was 4 names that were mentioned as midfield targets. It was Ugarte, it was Zubimendi, it was Adrian Rabiot as well, and Yusuf Fofana. Those were the 4 names. Since then, it's quietened down, and I've been saying it over the last couple of days. Is anyone concerned about the fact that, this transfer talk for midfielders has really, really quietened? Manchester United have started, putting all their energy into getting De Ligt and Mazraoui over the line, which I understand that's 2 targets in comparison to 1 midfield target that you need to get over the line. But I feel like, again, I applaud Man United for walking away from this, because 60 million is a blasphemous price tag for Manuel Ugarte. And I said this weeks ago. I think I tweeted it when the news came out that PSG were looking for around 60 to 70 million. I said it, listen, if they end up going for João Neves, I would rather you just walk away. Just walk away. Just let them deal with the repercussions of, not being able to offload a player. But I am worried about the fact that there is potential that Manchester United could go into next Friday with the same midfield that they had last season. It is very likely Fulham at home, Old Trafford, first game of the season, Friday night, first game, kicking off the Premier League campaign for everyone. And there is a strong possibility that we could see Casemiro, Kobe, Bruno. We could see maybe Casemiro, McTominay, Bruno. I don't even know. There is a big possibility. There is actually a big possibility, guys, that Manchester United could start the season, or equally so, forget even start the season. There is a big possibility, highly likely, I say it's 99% likely, that Manchester United start the game against Manchester City in the Community Shield with the same squad they had last season. And that is what happens when they've only brought two players. They've only brought two players in, right? They've only brought in Joshua Zexi, Lenny Yoro. Lenny Yoro's out injured for 3 months. We're going to talk about that as well very briefly. And so at the moment, the only transfer target that Man United have brought and is available is Joshua Zexi. That's it. And that is a scary thought that Manchester United, after coming off of their worst possible season in a long time, could go back and start the season with the same squad. And I don't think people are talking about that enough. I really don't think people are talking about that enough. A part of me is obviously continuing to be optimistic, continuing to trust in, you know, the people that have been brought in to do the roles that they're expected to do. You know, the people that are brought in to do the job that they're expected to do. I want to continue in that good faith and believe that, you know, let's look at this. Let's look at this. This is the people that Manchester United have in place. We got Sir Jim at the top, head of the table. We got his co-workers or co-colleagues in Jean-Claude Blanc or Blanc. You lot got on to me last time when I mispronounced it. And Sir Dave Brailsford. You go down and you got Umar Brada, Dan Ashworth, Jason Wilcox, all three of them on the pre-season tour at the US. You got Christopher Vivel, director of recruitment. And then you've got Eric Ten Hag, Van Nistelrooy, Rene Hack as well. So that is the United structure. Now, I put my full trust into these four here that they will get it done. They will get the business done. They will bring in the players that they need to bring in, right? But it is very, very worrying. And it is no one can tell me that it's not a worrying thought. It's not a worrying thought. Now, I saw reports from Manchester Evening News. Now, I'm only mentioning this because it's funny, guys. I don't think it's true, by the way. I don't think it's true, but I just have to mention it because I find it funny. And reportedly, Manchester United offered Anthony for Frankie de Jong, but Barcelona asked for money. Again, it could be fake. It could be a fake article. I don't know, but I just found that funny. Now, I don't think that there's anything to it. But guys, I'm not a conspiracy theorist yet. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. But is it a coincidence that Frankie de Jong is on the market again and United walk away from Manuel Ugarte? Is it a coincidence? Is it a coincidence, or is it just circumstantial? Is it just the chance? Mark N sources. Oh man, I don't know. I think it's just a coincidence. I just think it's just a coincidence. But just something on Scott McTominay quickly. Of course, Fulham are willing to walk away from the bid. They still haven't tabled a new bid. They've had 3 bids rejected. Maybe the 4th one will be the final one. That is the one that Manchester United accept. The last one was £23 million. Manchester United won about 30 million, but are willing to listen to anything 25, 26 plus add-ons. Now, reportedly, Eric Ten Hag sees Scott McTominay as an important member of the squad and would like to keep him. However, Manchester United are looking to part ways with him in the hopes of generating 100% profit for FFP purposes. Now, if this Ugarte deal has, as we know it, has fallen through, this could be a pathway for Scott McTominay. Now, reportedly, the biggest hindrance regarding Scott McTominay leaving Manchester United is that he wants guaranteed game time or a guaranteed role wherever he goes. Same at Manchester United. Now, of course, he's still got a year or two left on his contract, I think. And like we already know what you're getting with Scott McTominay. Like, he's not one of them players like, you know, other players in the club. I don't want to like name people, but where one game they're performing well, one game they're not performing that well. Scott McTominay, you know what you're getting. You're not going to get a midfielder that wins the ball. You're not going to get a midfielder that shows for the ball, that passes well. But you're going to get someone galloping into the box when Man United are on a counter. That's what you're going to get. You're going to get someone galloping like a horse into the box. You're going to get someone making runs like a second striker into the box. For set pieces, for corners. He's a false 8. He's not even a false 8. He's a false. I don't even know what to call him at this point. I don't know what his role is, because he's not a false 9. He's not a false 9. I wouldn't say he's a false 10. We're just making, at this point, well, guys, we're just making up. We're making up positions to fit players. We're making up positions to fit narratives for players at Manchester United. Now, for me, Scott McTominay, you know what you're getting with him. You know what you get with Scott McTominay. It's very, very obvious. He plays centre back at Scott. False. Two people said false footballer at the same time. False footballer. False footballer. Now, I have a strong feeling that Scott McTominay will stay now that this deal has fell through for Manuel Ugarte. I genuinely think that Man United could actually do something that would probably piss off a lot of people. But they could sign Adrian Rabiot on a free and afford to probably keep Scott McTominay another year. If Eric Ten Hag really wants to keep him. I mean, you look at the midfield options right now, and you've got Scott McTominay, you've got Casemiro, you've got Kobbie Mainoo, you've got Bruno, you've got Mason Mount, you've got Christian Eriksen, you've got Toby Collier. That's 7 players. That is 7 players. Toby Collier might not always make the matchday squad. Casemiro might not always be fit. Eriksen might not always be fit. Bruno will always be there. Mason Mount, we don't know if he'll always be fit. Kobbie Mainoo hopefully will be able to be fit. Now, Scott McTominay leaving was always on the impression that Manchester United could do with the money. But if they're no longer signing a midfielder, which is, by the way, not confirmed, is kind of what is confirmed is that Manchester United are walking away from Ugarte and looking elsewhere. They might look at Scott McTominay as a new role. What are your thoughts on Florentino Luis as a cheaper alternative to Ugarte? I'm not gonna lie, bro, I don't know much about Florentino Luis, so please enlighten me. If you think he's a player that United should go after instead of Ugarte. Now, just some quick news on Lenny Yoro. Just some news on Lenny Yoro. Manchester United confirmed today that Lenny Yoro officially had surgery on his metatarsal. Well, they said it was just surgery, but we know that it's on his fractured metatarsal that he obtained whilst playing against Arsenal in pre-season just over a week and a bit ago. And the club have confirmed that he will be out for 3 months. However, The Athletic, about a week ago, when they did an article about Lenny Yoro, suggested that metatarsal injuries take a lot longer than 3 months to recover from if you have surgery. Now, I am not a doctor, so maybe I should ask my friends who are doctors and surgeons, etc. But Manchester United reporting that he's only going to be away for up to 3 months. It could be less than that, but a part of me thinks if it's the same injury like Leacher had, and he basically ended up missing the entire rest of the season after his injury in March, then it could be the case as well for Lenny Yoro. Now, it's really, really unfortunate. It is so unfortunate for Lenny Yoro. I mean, the manner in which he got the injury wasn't something that you could really foresee unless you're that so Raven and you can see in the future. In that same game, obviously, Rasmus Højlund got injured as well, but he's only out for 6 weeks. Is it crazy for me to say that Lenny Yoro will probably be a bigger miss? Because we don't even know. We don't even know who's going to be the centre-back starting pair against Manchester City on Saturday. We don't even know who that is. How much, what's the word? I want to say, what's the word like when you don't know? It's the fear of the unknown. It's the fear of the unknown for Saturday's game against Manchester City, because there is not many changes on the horizon in terms of the starting lineup. There is not many changes to the starting lineup. Maybe Joshua Zirkzee in the front line, but other than that, it's going to be the same possible lineup that we saw against Man City in the FA Cup final. Bar Varane, of course. But it's scary. It's very, very scary. But yeah, Lenny Yoro, just to confirm, is out for 3 months, has had his surgery. Rasmus Højlund is also out for 6. So that is the situation for him. But just let's quickly go back to it before we kind of wrap it up on Manuel Ugarte, where Manchester United are walking away from the transfer, completely walking away, by the way. And the only way Manchester United reportedly are happy to return to the table is if PSG are willing to lower their price in a manner in which Manchester United deem to be a correct fee for the player. Now, in this window, Manchester United don't want to be forced into buying players for outrageous prices, and they don't want to pay anything that they don't feel is correct. So essentially, Manchester United has probably assessed Manuel Ugarte's situation, his time at PSG, his time when, he was back at Sporting, and they've probably walked away from that thinking, he's not worth 60 million. Because with, if you look at Lenny Yoro in comparison to that deal, Man United were willing and happy to immediately pay the price that Lille had put on Lenny Yoro. And I think it's because of the fact that he had his ceiling for growth is a lot higher as an 18-year-old. Because you're young, you can still kind of mold him into the kind of player that you want. Whereas Ugarte, I think, is the complete opposite. Now, am I completely mad about this? No. And if you are mad, can I say, please let me know if you are annoyed about this, why you are annoyed about this. Because I truly would like to know why anyone could be mad at the fact that Manchester United have been paying extortionate prices for so many years, and now that they decide that they're not going to do that and they're going to change the narrative of Manchester United's transfer windows, people are like, oh, just pay the money. Just pay the money. When that completely defeats the purpose of having a footballing structure in place. It completely defeats the purpose of having Dan Ashworth, Umar Barada, Jason Wilcox, Jean-Claude Blanc, etc., etc. It defeats the purpose of having people making these decisions in place. Because essentially what they should be doing is assessing the situation, making their own judgment in terms of what they deem fit for evaluation. And if it's not the valuation they deem fit, then they walk away. No matter, by the way, there are other players out there. Like, I hope people can definitely feel the idea that there are other players out there. And just because Manchester United want Manuel Ugarte doesn't mean that they should help PSG with whatever situation they're in. Like I said time and time again, and I said this ages ago, if Man United want Manuel Ugarte and PSG are planning to buy João Neves, then you have to force PSG to lower your price, because at the end of the day, PSG are going to go and buy João Neves. We already know that. What we can't allow them now to do is pay a big fee for João Neves and try and recoup most of that cost back from Manchester United. Not at the expense, I think, of a player that hasn't performed well for the last 12 months. It's only been 1 year, by the way. It's only been 1 year, and they already want him off the project. At least Mukiele, they gave him I think they gave Mukiele 2 seasons, I want to say. Yeah, I think they gave him 2 seasons. They gave Mukiele 2 seasons since they brought him before they decided to transfer list him. They didn't say the same about him. They did not say that to do the same about Manuel Ugarte. Ugarte is very similar to Casemiro, just has more legs. The only thing that worries me about, the type of players that Manchester United are currently linked to in terms of Zubimendi, Joey Verman, Adrian Rabiot, etc. These profiles are quite different. The player profiles are really quite different. And that is the only thing that is I kind of put a question mark on top of, just because of, what kind of midfield partner is Manchester United going for in terms of partnering Kobbie Mainoo? Are they going for a Ugarte's profile? Are they going for a Zubimendi profile? Are they going for a Yusuf Fofana profile? What kind of profile are they going for? David says, I'm frustrated that we pulled out the Ugarte deal just because of the time wasted on the deal. I don't think it was time wasted, because at the end of the day, there is nothing to suggest that Man United have not been in talks with other players and other clubs outside of this. We already know that, okay, Man United agreed personal terms with Manuel Ugarte. They were in talks with PSG as well to kind of come to an agreement for a fee, but there is nothing to suggest that Manchester United were not in talks with other clubs and other targets. We already know who the other targets were. We know that they were in talks with Yusuf Fofana and Monaco. We know that they've approached Zubimendi and his camp. We already know that. So I wouldn't say it's really time wasted. At the end of the day, it's not like the Frankie de Jong saga 2 years ago, where Manchester United spent the entire summer transfer window chasing Frankie de Jong, only to end up getting battered by Brentford and Brighton in the opening 2 weeks of the Premier League, and then signing Casemiro on a panic deal. At least we know that might not happen this time around. Do you think, guys, and this is to everyone in the chat, do you think Man United will have a new midfielder before Fulham game next Friday. Next Friday is the opening week of the Premier League. Manchester United kick off the Premier League campaign for everyone with Friday night football against Fulham. Do you think Man United will have a new midfielder? It's very unlikely it will be this guy here, Manuel Ugarte, but Yusuf Fofana is definitely a possibility as well. Who else is a possibility? Not the guy in the yellow or the whatever color. What color is this? Green. Not the guy in the green. The guy in the blue in Zubimendi. Sufyan Amrabat, another target for Manchester United. And this brother here as well. I can't even remember. Sanderberg. And last but not least, Joey Verman. These are the 5 players that have kind of been linked to a move for Manchester United. A strong part of me is this guy here. I really think it's Sufyan Amrabat. Everyone's saying no. Wow. TV Thrill says yes, Amrabat. Okay, we're on the same boat. You lot are all saying no. Everybody's pretty much saying no in terms of who they think, whether they think Man United will have a new midfielder in place. Are you happy with the Manuel Ugarte choice? Let me know. Let me know if you're happy with the Manuel Ugarte choice. Be sure to hit the like button, guys. If you've just come through, we're only 12 likes away from 100. Can we get that on a very impromptu Monday night stream? It's Monday night. I don't really do streams at nighttime, guys. But with the news, I thought it was only right to come and chit chat with the community. So be sure to hit the like button and let's try get to 100 likes just before the end of the stream. We're only 10 more away. And if you're watching this back, of course, like as well. David says Amrabat and Rabiot. That could happen. Amrabat and Rabiot would cost Manchester United about 25 million. But it will be a hefty salary. I think it will be a hefty salary. Reportedly, Rabiot's asking for 20k. 20k. I wish he was asking for 20k. Reportedly, Rabiot's asking for 200k. He's asking for 200k, which is a net salary of about 7 million euros. In GBP, of course, just calculating it in GBP and then calculating the gross amount, which is what salaries tend to be paid in English football. So it's about 200k a week is what Rabiot is looking at. Amrabat, like I said, I've given the pros about Amrabat and I've given the cons about Amrabat. For me, if Man United want to make if Ineos want to make a statement, and they want, because if they want to make a statement and they're coming in and saying, you know what, we're really serious about building a rejuvenated squad and the best in class and the best in talent, you go and get Martin Zubimendi. That is, for me, that is a statement signing. Amrabat is not a statement signing. Rabiot is not a statement signing. Even Yusuf Fofana, I would say, is not a statement signing. Zubimendi, for me, is a statement signing. And yes, I understand Man United might not have the cash flow to pay a 60 million release clause, but if they can negotiate something like Lenny Yoro's one, they might be able to pay that. Lenny Yoro, for me, was not enough of a statement signing. For me, Zubimendi is the statement signing. Are you telling me that you convinced someone that reportedly doesn't want to leave Spain to leave Spain? Then you are clearly capable of doing anything. You are clearly capable of doing anything. Show says Amrabat and Rabiot would both be very lazy signings that Murto and Arnold would do. You're basically comparing the current regime to the previous one. That's a bit harsh, Show. That's a bit harsh. I know who Show wants back. Show wants Amrabat back. I know Show wants a midfield of Amrabat and Mason Mount and Scott McTominay, the midfield three. That's who Show wants as the midfield three. I do have my question marks about Sufyan Amrabat, but like I said, there's already some positives as to the idea of having him at Manchester United. It's not all doom and gloom. It's not all doom and gloom. But if you guys, just a quick wrap up for the rest of the stream, Manuel Ugarte ain't coming. Listen, it is what it is. I'm glad that I feel like it's a blessing in disguise. I feel like it is a blessing in disguise for somebody like myself who has said before that I would prefer Zubimendi over Manuel Ugarte. Now, this is not me saying that Zubimendi is coming, but it means that Manchester United will not allow themselves to be fleeced out of 60 million euros. Simple as that. And for PSG, can't force Man United into a transfer. Hopefully they can maintain good relations and maybe get a deal done. But as far as we're concerned, Man United are walking away from the bid. And you know what, guys? Rightfully so. rightfully so that they should be walking away from the bid. That's just my opinion. But big up to everyone. A very impromptu stream, like I said, nighttime vibes here, Monday evening or Monday night, or for some people it's evening. I think for some people it's nighttime. I think for some people it might even be the next day. But big up to everyone. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. We are 3 likes away. It's just 3, guys. Just 3 likes away from 100. So please hit the like button. It's free. It does a lot for the algorithm, and it really pushes the channel out there. There you go. We hit 100 likes. We'll be back as well. I'll be back tomorrow, God willing, for another stream. You know what it is, as always, is we got new content vibes here, guys. You guys see the new thumbnails, you see the new intro, etc. But big up to everyone. I hope you have a wonderful night or afternoon, whatever the time zone is for you. If you're in the UK, if you're in England, if you are in Ireland, if you are in Wales, please be safe, guys. Please be safe. That's it. I spoke about it earlier on the stream, earlier today. In this world that we live in, there is no place for racism. There's no place for xenophobia. There's no place for Islamophobia, and there's no space or place for any such things that we've been seeing over the last week or so here in the UK. So like I said, if you're from the UK, I hope you and your family stay safe, guys. I hope you guys stay safe. But big up to everyone. Hit the like button. I'll be back tomorrow, inshallah. You know what it is, man. As always, I hope you have a good night or a good afternoon. It is what it is, guys. I'm out. Peace.